Welcome to Grow the Family, a podcast sharing infertility stories, support, and the science behind growing a family. Each episode explores infertility through honest conversations, education, and real experiences from couples and professionals walking this road. I'm your host, Courtney Lewis, and you're not alone here. Hi, Brittany. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Okay, so give us a brief introduction all about you and your family. Just give us a rundown.
Okay, so I am originally from Pennsylvania. I ended up going to undergrad up there for occupational therapy, and I knew I was going to go on to get my master's. So I ended up in Nashville, Tennessee, at Belmont University. And while I was there, I met my husband and fell in love and ended up moving down to the Wiregrass area because he's actually from Ozark.
Okay.
And we got married in 2018. And from there, we kind of realized, we were struggling to get pregnant. And we knew that we were going to have to go forward with IVF eventually. But from all of that, we ended up having two babies. I have an almost 3-year-old girl and then a 9-month-old boy.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
Love
a
it.
little bit about me.
Yes, no, I love it. Also, just something that our listeners might not know, but I'm from Dothan, Alabama, which is also in the Wiregrass area. So it's kind of fun because me and Brittany, we've never met before
Hmm.
tonight, but
Yep.
we're close. And I mean, we live in the same area, which is so fun.
Hmm.
And I know hopefully one day I'll have like in-person video equipment and then I can have anybody that's in this area actually like come and do a sit down interview, which would be so fun. But so
Yeah.
grateful for technology and that we can still make this happen. So,
Yes.
okay, so you said 2018,
Hmm.
you started to realize like, okay, it's a little bit hard for us to get pregnant. So,
Yes.
when did y'all go and get the diagnosis? Tell us a little bit about how y'all got that diagnosis and what it was and such.
So it was probably towards the end of 2018 is when I started to have that conversation with my OB, and she suggested my husband get tested with a semen analysis and that I would have an HSG. And basically, that just looks to see if my tubes are open by inserting dye. So I had that done first, and we found both my tubes were open. And then we got the results back from my husband's semen analysis. And that's when we realized, okay, that's where the problem lies.
Mhm.
So he ended up having low count, poor motility, or how the sperm move, and then also poor shape. So we kind of had the trifecta of
Of the sperm
yes,
issues.
yes.
Yes.
So it was at that moment that we then got referred to the fertility clinic in Dothan. And
Okay.
they, then did another semen analysis just to make sure that one was accurate that we had done the first time. And from there, he got sent to urology and got put on medication. So,
Okay. And so did the medication, we also struggle with male factor infertility, my husband and I. And but he has azospermia, which means no sperm.
mhm.
So, medication does nothing for for him, unfortunately. So I'm curious, does has the medication, does it actually help? Like, does it actually improve things? Because y'all have had to do treatments anyway,
Mhm.
but yeah.
So it did not help him,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
So after, I think he was on that for almost 3 months, and we didn't see a change then when they did a repeat semen analysis. So
Okay.
then we started talking about other options, and
Hmm.
we ended up doing an IUI, just one. and that also didn't work. So then we ended up going forward with IVF. That was the option that was presented. So
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, great. And then tell us about your IVF journey. You did your IUI, so tell us a little bit about the IVF journey because you did four
I
transfers, right?
did.
Okay.
I did 4 rounds of egg retrieval. I ended up doing
Oh no.
6 embryo transfers.
Oh, those egg
So
retrievals are brutal.
they are. I
Uh,
feel like the more I went through them, though, it was kind of like, okay, I know what to expect. You know what I mean?
you're like, whatever.
But
I've been here
yeah,
before. I've done this.
exactly. It's crazy how resilient you get over time
Mhm,
going through all of that.
mhm.
But we ended up doing the first one, the first egg retrieval. It was in 2019. And that first round, I was on a basic medication protocol, the one they put you on straight out of the box, when you're going through IVF. And I ended up getting a lot of eggs, but I only ended up getting one embryo, and it was a poor graded day 6 embryo. And
Okay.
I kind of felt like it was a pity embryo. But anyway, when we transferred that embryo, it ended up not sticking. So we were back to square one, and we knew we were going to have to go through with another egg retrieval. So
Okay.
then we did the next one. It was probably that following year. I think it was 2020, and
Okay.
we tweaked my protocol just a little bit. So I ended up going on higher dose meds to try and get, not necessarily a greater quantity of eggs, but a greater quality of eggs.
Mhm.
And so we did the second one, and I ended up getting 3 embryos from that second round. And we did
Okay.
a fresh transfer with the first one, and it ended up sticking.
Mhm.
And at the 8-week ultrasound, we found that things were not growing properly on the baby, basically. And we ended
Okay.
up getting referred down to Sacred Heart in Pensacola,
Okay.
and we ultimately found out the baby had a very rare anomaly, and it was called limb body wall complex.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
basically, what that is the abdomen was growing outside of the baby. It didn't move inside during development like it should, and
Wow.
the heart was lower in the body cavity than what it should have been. There was limb discrepancies. Basically, the baby was not compatible with life. We
Right.
ended up actually losing her around 11 weeks, 11, 12 weeks.
Wow.
So,
Wrenching.
yeah, we ended up having a DNC after we lost her. And then um, once I was able to, we did another transfer. This was a frozen transfer, and it worked. And I made it again to about 8 weeks, and then I ended up having a miscarriage.
Okay.
So,
Which is
another loss. We
right.
What that means is we went in for an ultrasound, and the baby didn't have a heartbeat, and I
Okay.
had no signs, that we lost the baby. So
Right. Okay.
ended up having or going a different route that time. I took some medicine to try and induce the miscarriage. Um, and we thought it worked, but I ended up actually retaining some tissue. So I ended up having to have what's called, to put it simple, belly button surgery, where they
Okay.
laparoscopically go in and remove the tissue. And while my fertility doctor was in there, he said he also found a little bit of endometriosis on my ovaries.
Okay.
So he cleaned all that up. Um, I had a good period of time where I had to just heal, not only physically but mentally from all that. I just lost
Right.
2 in a row.
Right. Right.
Then we had the conversation with him, okay, this is 2 of the 3 embryos from this round. We didn't test the embryos. and we
Okay,
were
you didn't do the biopsy.
no. So we were
Okay.
nervous. I was nervous.
Yes.
I was like, if I
Yeah.
transfer this third one, like what if something's wrong again? So
Right.
we ended up choosing to do another egg retrieval. So this is round number 3. And
Okay.
this time we were going to test the embryos. We were
Okay.
going to make sure everything was okay with them, make sure they were normal before we transferred them.
Hmm.
So I went through that third round and I ended up getting 2 embryos that got shipped off and they came back normal. We had a girl and a
Okay.
boy.
Okay.
And in January of 2022, we transferred one. I didn't know the gender of it.
Mhm.
Um, and it didn't work. It didn't stick.
Okay. Okay.
So again, questions posed. Um, I also struggled a little bit with my lining during transfer. So my lining would never get really thick before we transferred the
Okay.
embryos. I was
Mhm.
always borderline right around like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Um, and so we decided at that point to do a little more testing on me. So I ended up doing what's called an ERA, which is where they prep your body like you're about to transfer an embryo, but then instead of doing a transfer, they take a little biopsy and they just see if anything odd is going on, if there's a reason, like if I have an infection, if there's a reason why that embryo is not sticking.
Right.
And I thought at that point that that was going to be like our answer, like, okay, this is why it's not working. And then we got
Right.
the results back and everything was normal, which was a
Okay.
blessing. But
Yes,
at
you're
this
like,
point,
it's a blessing, but why?
yeah,
Why
like
is this
what is going
happening?
wrong at this point?
Yes.
So again, we had a conversation with the doctor and he was like, okay, maybe we just need to be a little more aggressive, this next round, how about we transfer 2? We'll transfer the one that, the other one that's tested, and then that one from the second round that's still frozen. And then he also changed my protocol a little bit. So I ended up doing a month and a half of Lupron, which is endometriosis medication to like suppress.
Hmm.
Um, and then from that, we ended up transferring the 2, and it worked. I got pregnant, and that baby. Well, no, let me back up. I'm sorry, I'm missing a crucial thing. So on top,
Okay.
my clinic started doing something called PRP, which is
Okay.
plasma rich blood, basically. So they would take a vial of blood from me and they spun it in a centrifuge. And then after that, they inserted that like into my uterus. And what that was supposed to do was make my uterus more susceptible to taking the embryo.
Interesting.
So they were going to do it just 2 weeks before transfer. And my husband and I did a lot of research on that. And we actually found that doing it 2 weeks before transfer and then doing a second one 2 days before transfer really helped women get their lining thicker.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
when we proposed
Interesting.
this to my clinic, they were like, "Oh, well, we just started doing this, but yeah, I mean, if you want to do it twice,
Yeah.
like,
They're like,
fine."
sure, why not? Yeah.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's great that they were so like supportive. It sounds like y'all were able to come to them with a lot of different things and just have like a good discussion and then come up with a plan together, which I love that y'all were so involved in like a lot of the steps.
yes, they were very open and receptive, especially to me advocating for myself.
Yeah. Yes.
But
That can be a hard thing to do to advocate for
yes,
yourself. So go you. Yeah, way to
yeah.
be the example because that can be tough.
So anyway, after doing the 2 rounds of PRP, we transferred those 2 embryos, the one tested, the one untested, and it ended up working. I was pregnant. And we actually found out through talking with the clinic that the baby that stuck was actually the one from the second round. So the
Okay, the
one that was
biopsied one.
no, the one that was unbiopsied,
Oh,
which was crazy. We never
yeah.
expected that. But anyway, we found out it was a girl, and that pregnancy, I had no issues. I ended up having my daughter in March of 2023.
Oh,
And, we kind of felt like at that point, like, okay, we're out of embryos. Like, what do we
yeah.
do? And for a good year or so, I just felt in my heart like we weren't finished. I wanted more kids, and
Yes.
by the grace of God, my husband ended up getting a job that had some fertility benefits. So
Oh,
we were
that's a
able,
blessing.
yes, we were able to go forward with round number 4.
Okay.
And round number 4, we chose not to test them. I ended up getting 2 embryos, and we did the same protocol. I did the Lupron for a month and a half before, and then I ended up doing the PRP 2 weeks before and 2 days before the transfer. And we just transferred one. And from that, I ended up having my son in June of 2025.
Wow.
So I still have one frozen.
Okay. So
And
hopefully you get
yeah,
one more. Is that the plan?
yes, that is
Okay.
the plan. So hopefully within the next couple months, I'll start having that conversation again with my clinic, and we
Okay.
will do one more transfer. And then after that, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But
Hmm.
I do feel like we kind of found what works for my body finally
Yeah.
after times. But
Yes. How interesting. I've never heard of the PRP before. This is the first time I've heard of that. That is really intriguing.
The only other time I heard about it was
Mhm.
so during this whole journey, I really followed a lot of people on social media who
Yeah,
were also going through the same thing.
right.
And there was one girl I followed who struggled way longer than I did, and her problem was more egg quality. But they actually do PRP for egg quality reasons. So instead of injecting the blood into the uterus, they'll actually inject it straight into the ovaries, and it's supposed to help with the quality of the eggs.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wow. You're
I don't think
opening
my
my
clinic.
world to so much.
I know, I had no idea, but
Wow.
it's crazy what's out there. When you're
Yeah.
in this world, you really do dive in like head
Yeah.
first and try and figure out what would be the best option for you and your
Yes.
fertility
Yeah.
issue. So
Yes. And it's so like it's just so crazy how uniquely different everybody's situation is. And then how some
yes.
people find out these really neat things.
Mm-hmm.
And then their
Mm-hmm.
clinic supports trying it and doing it in various ways,
Yep.
specific to their body, which is, I will say that's very needed in the infertility world because every
Mm-hmm.
woman's body is so different that you really do
Yes.
have to cater specifically to them. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is very interesting. Wow. Okay, that is so cool. Okay, so 3-year-old daughter, right?
Yes. Yes.
9-month-old son.
Yep.
Okay, so how did infertility impact your marriage? And your journey is interesting because your husband had the male factor infertility, but there was even some reasons why your body wasn't really responding either.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did that like impact your marriage, like getting the different diagnosis and just going through the whole journey in general? Because it can be so taxing
Yes.
emotionally and physically, and then financially, really in
Mm-hmm.
all the different
Yep.
ways. So
Yep.
yeah, tell us about that a little bit.
Um, you know, it was hard, over 4 years, including the 2 losses we had. It did tax our marriage a little bit. My husband, he felt very much to blame, which was hard. And
Mhm.
so trying to just get him to open up and talk, and having that conversation that you know I did not resent him over everything we were going through. It was definitely something we were going through together. um, it just it was difficult in the beginning. It was. We did do some counseling, just because I do feel like we isolated a little bit.
Hmm.
It was hard for me because I feel like there is probably 90% of those 4 years during IVF that I was on medications, and being on all those medications, it definitely changes you a little bit. Those
Yeah.
hormones are
Yeah.
crazy.
They
And
are crazy.
it really made us realize that we had to focus on communicating better, on spending time with each other, and being close with our family. We tried just to really stay close because it's so easy to kind of, do your separate things, grieve separately, do everything separately. But
Mhm.
I feel ultimately like doing all those things together, especially, I feel like our faith got much stronger during that time. Just really focusing on making sure this wasn't going to pull us apart, because it was something that, was supposed to bring us together. It was
Right.
our family we were trying to grow,
Right.
not letting this become a thorn, but more or less just something, another mountain we had to climb in our
Together.
marriage.
Yeah.
Yes. So the beginning was rocky, but I do feel like over time and just everything, we are much stronger now going through everything. I do think it's
Mhm.
too, we know what to expect, and then
Mhm.
him getting that job with the financial aspect, that took a big weight off our shoulders,
Mhm.
because we did have to take a loan out for one of those egg retrievals in the beginning. So
Right. Yeah.
having the fertility benefits definitely helped.
Yes.
So,
Yes. No, that is huge.
yes.
What does he do? Does he still have that job that covers those?
He does. So he works out at Fort Rucker for
Okay.
M1. He is an A&P mechanic, so he fixes
Okay.
helicopters.
Oh, fine. Okay.
Hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome that he gets those benefits now, because that is huge. But I love that, y'all went and you saw that there was, that it was very difficult, that it was taking its toll a little bit, and you were not afraid to ask for help, to go and get the
Yes.
help that you needed. Counseling is a beautiful tool that God has given
Hmm.
us, and
Yes.
it's something that we should utilize. And so I love that y'all set your pride aside, that you weren't ashamed to ask for help, because that is
Yes.
huge. Um, are there different ways individually that y'all did cope that were different from one another?
Um, I was talking to him about this right before I jumped on.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like he did anything in particular,
Mhm.
but I feel like I definitely, when I was saying like got deeper in faith, um, I ended up reading devotionals. I was there's a really good one. It's called In Due Time, and it's a 60-day devotional, and it's about loss
Mhm.
and like wanting something so bad in life and kind
Mhm.
of dealing with how to cope and encouragement. And I feel like that really helped me. That and reading my Bible and praying.
Yeah.
So
No, I love that. Faith can be such a huge strength. So I love that that was just
yes,
an anchor for you during that very
it
difficult time.
was.
So
It was.
I love that. I think that's what we need to turn towards. So many people sometimes will turn away from it, but like this is the time that you need the
Hmm.
Lord by your side and in your life. And so keeping him close is definitely very helpful and helps you keep that, just a faithful and hopeful eternal perspective, even though you have no idea how things are going to turn out in the end.
Yes, yes.
I love that. Was there anything in specific that y'all did to stay connected? I mean, I know y'all did the counseling, but was there anything
Mhm.
else that you felt like y'all did in your marriage to just stick together or to strengthen your
Um,
relationship?
so We took some trips. We definitely tried to do a lot more bonding activities.
Yeah.
Just making the effort to have the date night, and again, spending time with our extended family. All his family lives down here too in the Wiregrass. So just being
Okay.
able to have the family surround us. And I was very open with everything we were going through at each time. So I feel like all of their love and encouragement also helped us,
Yes.
stay together and, get through some hard times. So,
Yeah. No, I love that. Okay, was there anything about your journey that surprised you about yourself?
I would say, I mean, you learn to be resilient with everything. The longer you go through, you kind of realize, it's not something you can control. It's out of your hands. It's in God's hands. Um, so I feel like I kind of shifted in that sense too, because I am very much a type A type of person.
Yeah.
So not being in control, that was a little hard for me. But I do feel like I'm very proud of how ultimately, I handled everything.
Hmm.
And I'm very proud of myself for all the shots I had to give myself. I wasn't really
Yeah.
that much of a fan of needles and to
Neither
go
was
through how
I.
many rounds,
Yes.
very proud of all of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is an accomplishment indeed.
yeah.
I don't really know anybody that loves shots, but you
Yeah.
do meet people and they're like, I can't do them. I won't do them, and I
Hmm.
remember, yeah, our first year of all the medications, I was like, Hunter, you have to do it. My husband, I'm like, I'm gonna be
Hmm.
sick. Like, you got to do it. Like, I'm gonna pass out,
Yeah,
and then eventually you have to do it on your own because
you do.
you have different schedules and
Yeah.
they're busy sometimes and you're on these medications at all different times of the day. So so eventually it became this just grin and bear it, like be
Yeah.
tough, just push
You do what
through.
you got to do.
So yeah. Yep. No, I love that. I agree. I think it can definitely, you're more capable than what you think and you can do
Yes.
more than what you initially think. So
Yeah.
I do think that's awesome. Um, let's see. And then what gives you hope right now? Because you do have another embryo that's frozen to transfer. So
Hmm.
is there anything in specific for you that you're like, this is what keeps me going, or this is what helps me to like have a positive mindset as we prepare?
I think just knowing that, we kind of found what works for me,
Hmm.
protocol wise, I feel like that gives me hope. I feel like we finally cracked the code,
Yes.
after so many transfers, and to have
Yes.
it work back to back, having my daughter than my son, I feel like that helps me be calm about it. But I also, again, it's in God's hands. If the
Mm-hmm.
last frozen embryo works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm very, very blessed to have my daughter and my son, and that will be enough for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. No, I think that's wonderful. Okay, well, is there anything that you would tell listeners that are walking a similar road to yours? What would you want listeners to know?
I would say to not be afraid to advocate for yourself, just like how we advocated about doing the PRP twice.
Hmm.
That wasn't something my clinic knew about. It wasn't something they even heard about, but they were very open to it. And I think once they saw that it worked, I actually think they now offer that as an option, which
Hmm.
is kind of funny. But I would
Yeah.
just say to definitely, do your research, to advocate for yourself, and ultimately know that you need to keep pushing through. You know, in the beginning, when it didn't work for us, I was very upset about it. I didn't understand why it didn't work. And my doctor at the time was like, you need to keep trying, Brittany. You cannot give up. Keep
Mm.
trying. Like it will happen. You just got to push through.
Yes.
And he was right. I mean, yes, it took forever, but do I regret any minute of it? I don't. I
Mm.
don't at all. I don't, to us, the money didn't mean anything. Money is money, but having a family, we knew that we wanted that in our hearts, and that's what we pushed forward for. So I
I
would
love
just say,
it.
if you want a family, keep pushing through, and definitely be your own advocate and don't be afraid to ask the question. The worst they can say is no. So,
Yeah. No, we can't do that. I do love that though. I feel like, yeah, I just feel like not every clinic is the same. And so it's true.
mhm.
If you're not advocating for yourself, if you're not doing your own research, there could be something that gets missed or something that they don't know about or something they haven't tried, like you
Mhm.
said, which I just never really like put that together before. So I'm like, this is just kind of a fun, this is a good lesson for me. Because I'm like, wow, this is so insightful. I'm like, I didn't really think about these different things, and just how it's true. Like you need to like do your research, figure out what's working, what's not working, and then implement it and talk to those providers. And
Yeah.
hopefully they will be supportive and be on board and,
Yes. Yes.
be like yours is. So just out of curiosity, for you guys, do y'all um go to Pensacola to do that actual IVF? Because isn't
Yeah.
that where the
Mhm.
clinic, like the clinic, they have a clinic here, but they have like tiny little clinics in the smaller towns. And
Mhm.
then you have to go to the,
Pensacola one for everything
okay.
else. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So the doctor, what's his name? Dr.
Berry rips.
Rips.
Mhm.
Okay. And you like him.
I did. I
Okay.
did.
Okay.
He's a little funny, but I do like him.
Okay.
How he
Okay.
went about everything was definitely, I mean, he was right. So,
Yeah. 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 No, that's good. That's good. I like that. I've just yeah, just been curious of the options in this area.
mhm.
So we've always traveled to like really, really big cities for all of
Yeah,
ours.
yeah.
And so that's just fun to hear a positive
Yeah.
experience.
So it's a little sad because
Yeah.
they closed the Dothan office this past year.
Okay, I did hear that they were doing that and that now you have to travel far. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'll have to probably just travel down to Pensacola. I
Okay.
did talk to my OB though, and she said they could probably do like some of the monitoring stuff, like
That's
ultrasounds
good.
to check the
Right.
lining and all of that. But probably for all the other like simple procedures that they would do in the office, I would have to drive down to Pensacola.
Wow. Yeah.
A
Okay.
little bummed about that, but it's okay. I mean, the
It'll
Pensacola
be
drive's
worth
not
it.
that bad. Yes, it'll
It'll
be
be
worth
worth
it.
it, and you won't
It'll
even
be
think
okay.
about it after that
Exactly.
next baby gets here. Do y'all know what? Oh, y'all don't know what your next embryo is because y'all didn't
Nope.
biopsy, right? Okay, so
Yep.
that's my last question. So you've biopsied and you've not biopsied. So in your
Mhm.
personal opinion, what are your thoughts on biopsying?
So I feel like it kind of changed. In the beginning, I was like, we don't need to do that. It's fine. It's just an extra expense. But then when we went
Right.
through all that loss, I
Mm.
was like, okay, well, maybe we do need to do this. Maybe it's going to weed out, any of the embryos that might have something wrong. But then after not having those two tested embryos stick, I was like, okay, with that last and final round, we're not testing them. Again,
Yeah, yeah.
obviously it is in God's hands
Oh,
because
right.
those two tested didn't stick, and the one from that second round that we had left over was my daughter, who is perfectly normal, and
Hmm.
I I feel like the testing didn't help us in any way by doing the biopsying.
Right. Okay. No, I've always been like on the fence with it. We biopsied our first two and they did work. And then we didn't biopsy the next group, and we had five, and only one worked out of our five. And so, but I've always just been on this fence because,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I just don't know how to feel about the biopsy. And so I'm always curious what
Hmm.
people's thoughts are.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Brittany, I loved talking with you, and I personally learned quite a lot. So I hope our listeners did too, but I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, and I'm excited. I hope everything works out with baby number three
Thank you.
and that you get that baby number three because three is a fun number.
Yes.
A little
Yes, it
crazy, but it's a fun number. So I hope that works out for you guys. I really appreciate, again, you taking the time to prepare and to do this podcast. It, yeah, is so helpful. And I know that it will bless and benefit others that are on this journey. So thank you
That's
so much.
awesome. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Infertility can look different for every person, every couple, and every family. And if today's conversation resonated with you, I hope you know you're not alone. At Grow the Family, we believe growing a family doesn't look the same for everyone. For some, that includes children. For others, it looks like strengthening a marriage, healing individually, parenting in new ways, or finding peace and purpose in a different outcome than expected. Every path matters. If this episode encouraged you or helped you feel seen, we invite you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for continuing to grow your family in whatever way that looks like for you.